going to do a little bit of exciting I-4 action here this morning. Thought instead of going back down the road I usually go down where all the kids are waiting for the school bus, cruise down here a little bit on I-4. But man, the crazy drivers of I-4 are already out and about. My wife hates I-4 so bad. Yeah, I just was thinking, meant to do a little video. Last week was 26 years I've been with the U.S. Postal Service, which kind of passed quietly because I was just so busy working. Wasn't even really thinking about it, you know. But it's been interesting 26 years. When I first started, I mean, my brother worked for the post office before I did, and he was there about 5 years before I started with them. But he told me where they were having all the postal exams and stuff. I was living out in Oklahoma at the time. I went and took about 7 of them in all kinds of different places. And then I ended up going back out, taking a job driving a tractor trailer. And after I had gone out, I was doing that a little bit, this new company. My brother called me and told me I'd gotten a letter. They wanted me to go into Tulsa for some training, like on the, like a 10-key flat sorter operator. And what happened, they have mail that goes through, and the machines weren't able to read the labels, and so they would shunt those off to a different place where a human would look at them and try and decipher what the zip code should be, and then enter the zip code for those pieces of mail. And so he's like, if you don't take this training, they might just, after they call you in and schedule you for it, they might just take you off the waiting list to get a job. So I went ahead, hopped on a bus from where I was, because when I went out with that new company, they sent me out for a couple of weeks with one of their training drivers, before they put you in your own truck, just to make sure you know how to drive and all that. And so I had him drop me off at this Greyhound bus station somewhere down in Tennessee or wherever, I don't know, and went back home to Oklahoma to so that I could do that flat sorter training. And then I sat around and waited, and nothing happened with that. But then finally they started hiring some carriers, and I had gotten like 100% on the test, so I was up at the top of the list when they started bringing in carriers, and ended up getting a carrier job there in Tulsa, which was interesting because it was the middle of August, and 110 degrees every day out in Oklahoma, 105, 110 degrees. And sorry, just watching the unmarked police state trooper there with some people. Oh, I guess they had an accident. Nice. But that was a lot of fun. I mean, I had been out driving a tractor trailer, and then while I was waiting around, to see if I could hear back from the post office, I'd just been doing a little bit of work for my brother, had a janitorial business. In addition to working at the post office, he actually started the janitorial business, and then he ended up getting hired at the post office when he started having kids, just to get the insurance and everything, And so I didn't really have the right clothes to be out walking around all day long in 110 degree heat. I had a bunch of blue jeans and t-shirts that I'd been wearing, and I think I had a cheap pair of tennis shoes from like Walmart or somewhere. I had no money at the time, and man, my feet were so sore. Had like these huge bloody blisters like on the ball of my feet from those crappy shoes that I was wearing. And the station where I was working, we were on the north side of Tulsa, which was kind of like gangbanger land, and that's where we had all the dog attacks everywhere you went, and real long walking routes. You were walking like 12, 13, 14 miles a day on those mail routes. And man, my feet were in such bad shape and everything. It was nice when I finally started buying some lighter clothes and everything. So I wasn't just like out there, totally sweating my butt off. I mean, you still were, but at least, without those heavy clothes, made it a lot more comfortable. I know one time I was out walking around, it was 110 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. I still had like an hour and a half left to go on my mail route that I was carrying. And I was walking down the street, and all of a sudden just got really, really chilled, stopped sweating. I thought, well, this is strange considering how hot it is, And it's kind of scary, Went and found a little convenience store and hung out in the AC for like 20 minutes and drank a bunch of Powerade and got some more water. But yeah, that was pretty scary after that. It took me like a week to really get better after that. But I didn't, I couldn't say anything to anybody or do anything. I was still on probation, within my first 90 days. I wasn't going to screw up my job by whining about it. So, but man, that heat out there. And then in the winter, of course, this thing here in Florida, it's hot. But in the winters, at least, you're not dealing with the ice and snow and that cold wind. But I was out there one time. I'd been out walking around like 2 weeks. Usually the snow doesn't stick around that long out in Oklahoma. But it had been like icy and snowy kind of for like 2 weeks, really cold. And I hadn't fallen or anything for 2 whole weeks. And then the one day when it was all starting to finally melt off, and things were starting to thaw out, I kind of let my guard down, started walking back down the shady side of this one street, a little bit of a slope, to there along the side of the road, and holding my mail on my left arm, I'm kind of sorting through my letters, and next thing you know, whoop, my feet went right off from under me, laying there on my back, my feet were up over my head, came down right on my floating ribs, and had some separated ribs. But I got back from the hospital that night having my ribs x-rayed and everything. And my brother called me and said, hey, my postmaster wants to know if you're interested in a clerk job, which sounded really good to me at the time. I thought, no more getting chased by pit bulls every day and all of that and walking around on the ice. So I took that job. It might have been a mistake in some ways because, I wasn't getting that many hours at the time. A lot of times I was using my annual leave just to get 40 hours a week. Yeah, and then they ended up taking out a lot of our equipment, our flat sorting machines and stuff, and sent all that work back to Tulsa. So I ended up going back to carrying anyways, moved back up to Pittsburgh, took a transfer up there. Started over as the bottom PTF, as they call them, or part-time flexible. And then I ended up, after my mom started having a lot of back surgery before she died, transferred back out to Wichita, Kansas, because my family is all just south of the Kansas-Oklahoma border. And then after my mom died, I started trying to transfer down here to Florida. So I've actually been here over half of my career. Got 26 years in, but been here, over 13, almost 13 and a half years now. None of the other places I was, Wichita, I stayed there about 6 years, but I moved all over the place. Everybody used to say, man, how can you transfer all over the place like this? It's like, are you a postal inspector or what, But I was always one of those people, I could never understand how people stayed at a job for 20, 30, 40 years, and just be bored out of my mind. Fortunately, though, with the Postal Service, I've been a carrier in 4 different states. I was a clerk for a couple of years. After I moved down here to Florida, well, I did a little bit of like the acting supervisor stuff up in Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh. I started a little bit there. I didn't do any of that while I was out in Wichita. I was kind of focused a lot on my writing and trying to get a screenplay produced and stuff like that. And then after I moved here to Florida, got into the acting supervisor thing, and I spent, probably at least 6 years doing that for a good bit of the time. Out traveling around on route inspection teams for the district office out of Tampa and everything. So a lot of fun stuff, you know. It wasn't the same old thing every day. I've known so many people who had the same mail route for 20, 25, 30 years. And that was their thing, man. They loved it. You know, they went out, had the same conversations with the same people every day. You know, watched people's kids grow up, you know. Probably watched some of them have kids. And I don't know, I could never handle that. You know, one of my friends up in Pittsburgh was like, man, how do you keep transferring around and learning all these new routes and stuff, you know? Because everywhere you go, then you have to learn all the new routes, you know, where everything is. But for me, it wasn't really an issue. I must confess, I wish I could remember some of the people I worked with a little better. A lot of them, even people I used to hang out with, go out to the movies with and eat with and have dinner with at their houses and stuff, you know, and some of them I can hardly even remember their names, which is kind of bad. But, you know, when you move on, you got to make room in your brain for, you know, the new people. But anyways, now here I am. Make it through another couple of years at the post office and I'll be done. I need to stick around for another couple of years, probably at least 2-3 years before I retire. I don't want to quit too early, you know, super early. On the other hand, there's no guarantees how long you're going to be in this world. I would like to retire and enjoy my life for a little bit. But it's strange, you know, being here for 26 years. It seems like a long time. You know, I mean, you look back on it, in some ways you think 26 years is not that long in a human life or whatever, you know, and the scale of human history for sure. But man, it seems like I've lived, you know, like a dozen lives since I started at the post office. Been through so many different things. I'm just hoping I can get that many years in retirement, you know. It'd be nice if I could have as many years in retirement as I've had working at the post office. That'll be nice. Be nice to be like this one old lady out on my mail route. She's like 96 years old. Still gets around pretty good. You know, out driving her car and stuff. You know, I helped her get up off the floor here a while back. I was dropping off a package in her little porch. Like she has this enclosed porch in front of her house where she's always sitting out there. At least not right now when it's super brilliantly hot. But I saw her like feet sticking out of the door from her living room, you know, and my first thought was, oh my God, I hope she's not dead. And I called out to her. I was like, hey, are you okay? You know, and then she had fallen. I helped her get up and find her glasses and put her remote back together and help her like find her phone so she could call her daughter and stuff. But still, she's getting along pretty good for 96 years old. You know, lives there, hangs out on her porch, still in, you know, full control of her mental faculties. So who knows? If I could hit 95 or so, that would be great. Quit the post office and then still have another 30 years to enjoy my retirement. See what else is going on. And anyways, yeah, I've just been thinking about that a lot. I don't know, when I first started the post office, you know, I was like not quite 35 years old. Man, the thought of being 60 years old was way down the road, you know, and now I'm closing in on 61. So, fun times. Hopefully, be off to the Philippines if all goes well before too long.